Today I would like to speak with you about the famous breakfast muesli or Budwig muesli, how some people are saying. But first I want to clear a very important question. How is it possible that you can find so many different recipes about the Budwig muesli in the internet? The answer is quite easy. Dr. Budwig wrote more than 100 books and articles, and she did not always, start the whole story from the beginning. She also always thought that everybody knew her books, or at least her book Oil-Protein Diet. And so it happened that in some books she did not describe again and again everything in detail. For example, already in 1952 she wrote in her book Oil-Protein Diet about how to make the breakfast muesli. So Dr. Budwig wrote at that time, she wrote, first add flaxseed oil, milk and honey in the blender, then gradually add the quark in smaller portions. This recipe was and is the original recipe until today. And also published, by the way, in that way in other books from her. In 1959, however, Dr. Budwig wrote in her book Fette als wahre Hilfe, later translated as Flax Oil as a true aid against arthritis, heart infarction, cancer and other diseases, following sentence. When you mix together quark or cottage cheese and flaxseed oil in your blender, the fat becomes water soluble. Well, then this book, with only 60 pages by the way, was translated into English. And many people who only read this book now thought that would be the original recipe. And some still believe this until today. They always argue that these are original words from Dr. Budwig, but without knowing the other more detailed descriptions, or to understand that it is simply because Dr. Budwig did not write in every book, in every article, everything again and again in details. So, this is the explanation why, especially in English-speaking countries, quite often you can find the FOCC Budwig muesli or FOC, which means many people are saying just mix flaxseed oil and cottage cheese and you have a Budwig breakfast muesli. But unfortunately, this is totally wrong. You also could say fucking wrong, because it will not work that way. Here you can see a few wrong examples from the internet. These are just some examples for so many. I just use Google to find them in a second. So, doing the oil protein, you do not have to go too deep into physics and chemistry, and you do not have to learn everything about hydrogen bridges and electron clouds, for example. But you do have to know the original recipes and how to make the recipes. If you just, like in these examples, mix flaxseed oil and cottage cheese together and you add in some fruits on top of it, you have maybe something better than a breakfast at McDonald's. Yes, I agree with that. But for sure, you do not have a Budwig muesli which gives you the energy you want, or, as a cancer patient, the energy you need. If you do it that way, you will not create a stable lipoprotein, which will survive when it goes to the mouth, to the stomach, and especially to the colon. I know some people will now maybe say, yeah, but some of these people you just mentioned, they posted a lot of success stories on their websites. Let me ask you a question. All these patients, have they returned to health because they followed this kind of protocols? Or, in spite of the fact that they followed these protocols. I'm grateful to Dr. Budwig that I thought more about this important question. In a discussion with her, I said to her that chemotherapies also had demonstrated successes. And then she asked me how I knew this. And I answered, well, that I personally knew patients who had returned to health thanks to chemotherapy. But you know, to this she answered following.
I also know patients who have received chemotherapy and then had no more tumor. However, I consider it to be non-scientific and premature to maintain that these patients survive because of the chemotherapy.
Therefore, success stories are motivating, no question, but unfortunately, this kind of success stories are no proof at all that it was the wrong oil protein diet that helped these people. In addition, in my experience, 99% in the English-speaking world have never done the real or the complete Budwig protocol. Mostly they did a vegetarian diet with freshly squeezed juices and a flaxseed oil cottage cheese breakfast, that's all. But that is not even 50% of the protocol, quite often not 10% of the protocol, and sometimes even 0% of the protocol. So the chance that these procedures, these protocols have been responsible for a cure, I consider to be very, very low. Maybe 1 or nothing percent. I'm 100% sure that the people have done something else to become healthy again. Look, I'm consulting and accompanying mostly final stage cancer patients now for 20 years. Too many people are dying even they do the best therapies. So one thing is for sure, nobody will survive cancer just mixing a bit flaxseed oil and a bit cottage cheese together. And believe me, I really would like to tell you something different, but this is the truth. So let's now come how to make the original and famous Budwig breakfast and how you can avoid the 10 biggest mistakes people normally are doing. First of all, what do we need?